This is a special bonus episode of Before the Bar Opens with me, Emma Clarke. In this podcast, we talk about what happens before the music starts and why and how people make, use and love music. So in this episode, I'll talk you through a piece I've written, why I wrote it, how it'll be used, I hope, and the music I love that I used as inspiration. I had an idea for a piece of music that was going to be challenging to write. The concept for the composition was going to be how each decision, every action we take, has a potential opposite outcome. How a thing can have two possible fates. I wanted a stable bass line with two completely different melodies sitting on top of it. I wanted the piece to sound like two parallel universes singing next to each other. I started off writing a simple sketch for the idea, just using a violin, a piano and a drum. It was pretty basic, but it did the job. If you'd like to hear it, I've put a link in the show notes. Once I'd finished the sketch, I wanted to have a go at orchestrating it. At the time, I was very new to orchestration. This was actually the second piece I'd ever orchestrated. And honestly, I barely knew what I was doing, but I could hear in my head exactly how I wanted it to sound. It was as if all the notes were already there. I just had to find the right mental code to unlock all the sounds so I could fully hear it. I love the process of orchestration. I begin by thinking about the colours and textures of the music and how I'd want it to feel if I could touch it and feel its curves and rough edges. For me, when I orchestrate, it's like a synesthetic process. I mean, I hear myself say this and it sounds really pretentious and dodgy, but honestly, that's how it is for me. I just see it in colours and shapes and textures, and I kind of feel it. I sense it. I sense the music in my body. It's a really weird thing. I can't explain it properly, but I know how I want it to sound because I feel it physically. I wanted the piece to morph into a different feeling and become something else, become something darker. And this was a good way for me to practice transitions in orchestration. I decided to call the piece How Slender the Margins because the margins between two different outcomes are very, very slender. That was the thinking behind it. And I imagine it as a theme for a film noir. I like to visualise what might go with my music, so I had the kind of cinematography in my head that's in the film In the Mood for Love, directed by Wong Kar-wai. I hope I've pronounced his name right. It's all technical and noir, and the visual themes are red, yellow, black and white. It's really moody. It's set in the 60s. There are lots of visual themes. There are clocks and globes and food, and every scene has a wall on the left or right, so you constantly feel cramped up. You're aware of the boundaries, the constraints of the social restrictions where these two characters can never really say what they mean. You get the feeling that there's no privacy in that film, and it's visually gorgeous. I imagine the music was telling the story of a dark thriller about a beautiful spy who isn't all that she seems, as if she has a true self and an undercover spy's legend. That's the two different melodies sitting next to each other. I imagine the cinematography would be by Gordon Willis because, why not? This is my musical cinematic fantasy, so who's going to argue? If you want to see examples of Gordon Willis's cinematography, I'll put links in the show notes. The music inspiration was all Ennio Morricone, the Italian composer, orchestrator, conductor and trumpeter who wrote music in a wide range of styles. He was so versatile, so prolific, just brilliant. With more than 400 scores for cinema and television, as well as more than 100 classical works, Morricone is widely considered one of the most prolific and greatest film composers of all time, and I think he was a genius. He's the guy who did the music for The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, Cinema Paradiso and Once Upon a Time in the West, to name but three. And Once Upon a Time in the West is one of Hans Zimmer's favourites too, Hans Zimmer being the awesome film score writer and musician. He's another legend. Anyway, I'm going to play you the full orchestrated piece. I really hope you like it. It was top fun to do and I learned loads doing it. This is How Slender the Margins. All the show notes for this bonus episode are available in the description, and there's a bunch more stuff at beforethebaropens.com. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you like. I'm at Emma B. Clarke, and there's an E on the end of Clarke. Before the Bar Opens is created by me and is produced by Rick Watson. I composed the theme music we use on Before the Bar Opens, and you can hear the full piece on our website, beforethebaropens.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave us a review, hopefully a really nice one, and tell your friends. Another episode will be along really soon, so don't miss it. Thanks for listening.